Hey, welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope I can do a Dave Mustaine Hangar 18 lesson today, all the rhythm parts and his solos. While it's just fresh in my head, I think it's a good idea. So it's standard tuning in this song, and it's based around the D minor chords. It starts off with the open D minor shape. I blank off the E and A strings with my thumb when I do this, and it's all down strokes, no palm muting. Then on the G, you move up to the third with your pinky. Now stretch to the fourth. Now we move up entirely, so it's 5, 3, 5, and using those fingers there. So now the chords pretty much repeat themselves. Back on the D minor again, on the 5, 6, and 7. And in these next few chords, it's actually the E that rises up each time. So the first shape I do like so. The second shape is a bar with the 3. Third shape is like a D7. And then we move up to this shape with the 8, 8, 9. Right, so now the second part of this whole riff, it's actually quite, I would say it's one of the hardest parts in this song because you've got distortion going, you've got to play it clean, but there's no palm muting. So notes have to ring out, but you've got to be really careful with your left hand not to let unwanted string noise in, and you've got to be really precise with your pick and sort of glide it around. So the first shape, it plays the D minor again, but the bottom 3 strings. Then you have to slide up on the G, and you go to the same D minor shape on the 5th. Now we go to that second shape we did. The third shape. You don't really hold the chord and let them all ring out on top of each other. It's almost like you have to sweep pick it, but you're doing it open. So it's a little bit hard, and it's because it's not really fast and you're not shredding. It's slowed down. It's actually got to be very calculated the way you play this. So it is hard. It's hard when you're used to playing really fast, but you've got to just go easy with this. Righto, so that run for Dave, he's on the, what's that, the 10th, 9th, 7th on the G. Then on the D, it's 10, 8, 7. Then 10, 8. The same riff Marty plays, he actually does it on the B string. That's Marty's part and Dave's part. We're into the main riff now, and you can pretty much follow it. So you're just, working up each time, coming to the 7th fret and just. And Marty's part in harmony to that, he's doing 7th to the 10th each time. And they give him a bit of a vibrato on that ending note for each. So that keeps on going. And then when he hits the pre-chorus riff, it's just a downslide exactly going backwards. And Marty, same part for that. So they're both different parts, but they gel together really well to make a really cool dynamic in that verse. Now we're into where Marty's solo begins. I played this riff incorrectly for many, many years, just until I did this cover actually, and or the recent cover I did. We'll get to what I was doing wrong. It starts, I use my little finger or the ring finger here, and it's just open A, D, and then G on the 2nd fret. So you can see how I'm palm muting and playing that. You're letting that G ring out momentarily, but the other two are palm muted. You can do it all down strokes, or you can go 2 down, 1 up. Next part of that, we just move up to the B flat, but we're always leaving the D string open between the octaves. We move up to the B. In the first part of the song, Dave goes back down. And that's the part of the riff I was always getting wrong. When I got to the C, I always thought that didn't sound right, and I thought he was playing. But he's not on the record. I gave it a really good listen, and he just plays it exactly the same. And so that whole riff repeats. Everything that we've just done now repeats, and you can work it out from those chords. At the end of this riff, when Marty's finished his solo, they take it back to the verse, and that riff that they both play, Dave's part of the riff starts on the 10th fret on the G, and it's and for Marty's part, you actually have to pick those. I used to do it so it was like just a pull off. And Marty's part is exactly the same, but I find he does it on the and then you're straight back into it. Okay, again, it winds up again for the verse, and we do the whole A to B chord. And this goes around, and to build it up to that jazzy D minor lick that Dave does, as we ascend on this riff, we actually go up to the 4th fret. So just to play through the entire riff that Dave does behind Marty's solo. This whole riff that Dave does, it's a little bit tricky, but it's not too hard. Just about every time he starts though, it's an upstroke on the G string, on the G on this. So and every other time you're going across and hitting the 8th fret on the A string there. So as long as you have that that's how I hear it on the record. When I slow it right down, he hits that G chord on the upstroke every time. Right, and then to wind up this riff to the next part. If you have that, 6/5, 8/5, and I pick all that. I don't. second time around, you don't wait to play it once after the... You just do it twice. I try and play that part clean and be right on time with the beats there. And then it gets into that cool riff, and it starts on the open, and you've got to slide from the open to the second fret. And then you hit the octave on the D string. This has a lot of stop and starts, this riff, and you've got to know when to palm mute, know when to let the strings ring out. I'll try and play it really slow and clean as I can. Hopefully you can just follow. The very tail of this riff, when you see it starts on the 4th fret, and you pull off on the G, so 5, 4, and then you pull off 7 to the 4 on the D. That's the part that you might miss on this, so... Right, and then for the first time, Dave goes back into that same. He does that, and then again goes back into that same riff. On the 3rd time around, just before Dave's solo. And we get to that point. This riff is just on the E string, and it's pedaling. And it's heavily palm muted. Yep, so that's how it's done. It's just if you can follow that. None of these riffs are really hard, but at speed it flows, but it's pretty technical, so it's fun to play. It's a good rhythm song just to play and have fun with. We've got to the end of that, and Dave's done it 3 times. It's time for his first solo. It's in the F sharp there. He plays just the pentatonic pattern on this F sharp. It's a really cool solo though, and I love how abrasive it is on the record. It just really cuts and comes into it. But you got to really pedal on this. I'll just play it really fast and then we'll break it down. We got to keep moving, otherwise the lesson will be an hour long. Okay, so that's it played pretty much at speed. I'm not sure. But it starts 17, 16, 14. Hopefully you have that. Just go straight down, repeat the same thing. And you do the same, but when you get to the G, it's just on those 3, and then the D is exactly the same. And we go down. All these notes, I'm just going to show you how I play it. A lot of these solos, you can't just play note for note exactly what Dave Mustaine plays, because he's such a sort of a shred player. As long as you know the positions that he plays, and it's more of a feel. I don't know any of his solos note for note exactly. I just go 100 mile an hour and just keep practicing until it sounds the same or sounds very close. So please, these are not note for note solos. I haven't slowed it down to one note at a time. It's how I hear it and it's how I interpret it. Right, so after you've done the... Hopefully you followed that. When you start to ascend and you come back up, you don't do the same. It doesn't go like that. It's more of a... So a technique Dave uses when he solos and he gets to that second shape and you're in that pentatonic. We all know we get to that. He actually plays, he changes his hand shape a bit and stretches out so the ring finger hits those notes. So as long as you roll with that when you're doing a Dave Mustaine solo and you're picking ferociously, you can't really go that wrong. So again, we'll just try and ascend this riff. I'll try and do it as slow as I can. I think that's about as slow as I can do it as in an accurate sense. So again, we'll try and just do it quickly at speed and we'll move on. And straight back into it. And we go through that whole riff. It repeats, comes back. Dave's second solo. Now this one, again, I was playing wrong for a long time. I worked it out just the other day and it made a lot of sense. And it's actually not that hard. It's a good exercise, really. But if you can stretch from the 14th to the, whatever that is, the 19th, to your middle finger there on the 17th. And if you can play this... That's exactly what he does, descend down the riff. So this is the sequence that he plays it. And you just do exactly the same on each string. But this E string, you play it once. Then the B string, you do the same thing, but you do it twice. G string, play it twice. D string, play it twice. A string, play it once. Now you start to ascend back up. And the way he does this is the hard part that I could never work out. You actually just do a hammer-on pull-off with your little finger on the same fret. And you actually have to hammer on it afterwards. So... So tie all that in nice and slow. So again, we'll just play that whole thing nice and slow. And it's just a slide and a bend on the 6th string on about the 21st, 22nd fret, whatever you feel. Straight back into it. Okay, so very last solo for Dave Mustaine that sees out the song. It's almost like a picking exercise. Play it clean, but slow. If you can do that riff. In each position, Dave just plays the same sequence of notes, and you just move it up the fretboard 3 frets at a time. So if you can do this, and that's that same thing, just moving itself up. Right, so you can see as that same riff, and you're just sliding it up 3 frets at a time. until we work it all the way right up to the neck, and you can't go any higher. Then you're just sliding up on the B string, hitting the B string all the way up, and then it's a big bend on the 24th fret. And then a succession of bends. And then when you start pedaling the bend and he actually lets that B string catch every now and then. And then it's just finish off with the G. And that's really all there is to Hangar 18. It's a really, really busy song, but the riffs aren't too complex, and I hope I've got all those changes in there for you. Okay, well, thanks. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Stay safe, look after yourselves, and I'll see you next time.